And now, what can happen when the bravest among us, soldiers, have to wage one more fight against the enemies of trauma and depression with their families by their sides? We have two stories of suffering and manly pride. How one recovered, one did not. Bob Woodruff reports.
Major Chris Galloway, a 36-year-old father of 3 from Michigan, did tours of Iraq and Afghanistan. 40-year-old Jim House, a master sergeant from Missouri, served in 3 wars in his Army career. Both men returned home tormented by their experiences at war.
You would do all of these reckless, endangering things that were obviously PTSD and say, no, I don't have a problem.
I was sensing depression, and I talked to him about it, and he's like, oh, no, the Army says I'm fine.
Shannon Galloway says her husband Chris, after months on edge in a combat zone, was unable to adjust to life at home in Michigan, and she pleaded with him to seek help. But Chris concealed his struggles, fearing the stigma of mental health treatment could derail a promotion.
He agreed to go to 2 sessions with me to my counselor because it was to help me. And I'm like, okay, well, as long as it gets him in. But after that, he was done.
Back in Missouri, as she watched her husband Jim descend into depression, drinking, and infidelity, Amanda House thought about walking away, but persisted.
I pushed all the time. Every day, you need to go get help. You need to get some help.
But he refused, right?
Absolutely.
He fought you on that.
Absolutely.
In the battle against suicide in its ranks, the Army is fighting an elusive, often silent enemy. Last year, 160 active duty soldiers committed suicide, despite an unprecedented effort to address the problem.
We've got so many opportunities out there for them, but they're not taking advantage because they don't see a need. They don't recognize that in themselves.
Which brings us back to these 2 soldiers, seemingly headed down the same path. At the depths of their despair, one soldier reached out for help, the other for a gun.
I never thought it'd come to this.
6 weeks after his return from battle, Chris Galloway stepped outside the family home and fired a single shot.
Daddy.
And Daddy, yeah. He was told that Daddy got very sick in Afghanistan. We said it was Afghanistan sickness, and it made his heart stop. And he went to heaven.
Amanda House knows how close she came to a similar fate.
I almost committed suicide. I had a plan and everything.
Finally, Amanda was able to convince Jim to seek treatment.
How hard was it for him to admit this?
That was probably the hardest thing that he's ever had to do, but it was the best thing that he could have ever done for him and for us.
Amanda House and Shannon Galloway agree that for all the focus on the soldier, the suicide prevention effort must involve families for it to be successful.
It's great that we're pushing the military member toward getting help by telling them that PTSD is something that can be dealt with, but what we need to do further is educate the family.
I need to do whatever I can to honor Chris so that his death is not in vain. There needs to be an easy way for the family member to go to the Army and say, look, this person needs help. Please help me get this person help.
And as Bob said, last year was a record number of military suicides. If you need someone who needs help, we're going to put more resources on our website, abcnews.com, and we'll be right back.